A place where, after just a few hours of driving, the only things you can see are red earth, drifting dust, and an endless blue sky stretching to the horizon. A place so vast that entire regions feel completely untouched by human presence. A place where a kangaroo can suddenly appear right outside your front door. A place with beaches so beautiful that people willingly leave their worries behind and throw themselves into the crashing waves. But that is only the beginning. Because this is also a country where some cities have declared states of emergency due to crime and street violence. A place where certain local dishes leave travelers frozen for a few seconds before they gather the courage to take a bite. And above all, this is the land of spiders nearly the size of an adult human hand. Saltwater crocodiles stretching more than 6 meters in length. Creatures so intimidating that many people get goosebumps just from seeing a photograph of them. This is Australia. So what is life really like in the land down under? How do people live on a continent-sized nation that is also one of the most sparsely populated places on Earth? And is Australia truly as dangerous as the stories often make it seem? Join us as we begin today's journey. If you look at a world map, Australia appears to be a giant island sitting alone in the middle of the ocean. But in reality, it is the only country on Earth that occupies an entire continent. Covering more than 7.6 million square kilometers, Australia is nearly 23 times larger than Vietnam. Yet by 2026, its population is only a little over 27 million people. That is not much more than the combined populations of Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. But the most fascinating part lies elsewhere. Around 90% of Australians live along the coastline. Most are concentrated in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. Meanwhile, much of the country's interior, known as the Outback, remains remarkably empty. You can drive for hundreds of kilometers without seeing a single town. No stores, no gas stations, sometimes not even a mobile phone signal. Many drivers carry dozens of liters of emergency water, food supplies, navigation equipment, and survival kits. Because if something goes wrong in these remote regions, help may take hours, or even days, to arrive. That is why so many first-time visitors to Australia are surprised. They expect a densely populated country similar to the United States. Instead, they find a vast continent dotted with modern cities scattered along the coast. And that immense scale has shaped a unique way of life. Australians value space. They value privacy. They value nature. And above all, they love the ocean. Many people describe Australia as one of the most isolated countries in the world. Yet it is this very isolation that has created some of the planet's most spectacular landscapes. Untouched wilderness, ancient deserts, and night skies filled with countless stars, and a wildlife ecosystem so unique that almost nowhere else on Earth can match it. But what made Australia famous around the world was never just its untamed landscapes. If Russia is known for its blonde-haired women, if Brazil is famous for the Carnival Festival, then Australia is remembered for something entirely different. The ocean, endless sunshine, and an incredibly laid-back way of life. If there is one thing visitors never forget about Australia, it is undoubtedly its seemingly endless coastline. Australians grow up with the sea as part of their identity. Around 85% of the population lives within 50 kilometers of the coast. From an early age, children learn how to swim, how to surf, how to perform life-saving rescues, and how to survive in the water. The ocean is not simply a place for recreation. It is woven into everyday life. On famous beaches in Sydney and the Gold Coast, it is common to see people jogging, sunbathing, playing volleyball, or riding waves for hours beneath the bright Australian sun. They are rarely concerned about what others think of them, not because they seek attention, but because Australian culture places a strong emphasis on personal freedom. Here, you are encouraged to be yourself. No one expects you to conform. Australia even has several legal nude beaches that have existed openly for decades. Places such as Lady Bay Beach in Sydney and Massland Beach in South Australia. They are clearly marked, legally regulated, and considered completely normal. For Australians, it is simply a personal choice, not something particularly shocking. But there is another aspect of Australian life that surprises many visitors even more. Christmas arrives in the middle of summer. While much of the world is bundled up in heavy coats and celebrating beneath falling snow, Australians are wearing shorts, hosting outdoor barbecues, heading to the beach, and enjoying sunshine by the ocean. It is a scene that feels completely opposite to what most people imagine. But if Australia's beautiful beaches represent its most welcoming side, its wilderness is the side that fascinates and intimidates the rest of the world. If there were a ranking of countries where you should always check your shoes before putting them on, Australia would almost certainly be near the top, because this is home to some of the most dangerous animals on Earth. On land, in the ocean, and sometimes right in your own backyard. Australia is home to more than 100 species of venomous snakes. Among them is the inland taipan, a snake widely regarded as possessing the most toxic venom of any snake in the world. A single bite can deliver enough venom to kill multiple adult humans. But things become even stranger. Australia is also famous for the huntsman spider, a spider whose leg span can approach the size of an adult human hand. The unsettling part is not its size. It is where you find it, on walls, behind curtains, inside bathrooms, or suddenly emerging from behind a car's sun visor. For many first-time visitors, the experience feels like something out of a horror movie. Yet locals are often remarkably calm about it. Some even jokingly refer to huntsman spiders as roommates, because compared to some of Australia's other creatures, they are far from the greatest concern. And beneath the ocean's surface, things can become even more dangerous. Australia is home to the box jellyfish, one of the most venomous marine creatures on the planet. A single encounter with its tentacles can place a victim in critical condition within minutes. Along parts of northern Australia, special protective nets are installed around swimming areas to keep these jellyfish away from beachgoers. But even all of that is still not the creature Australians fear most. Because in the north of this continent, there is still a giant predator lurking. A creature that can grow longer than 6 meters, weigh more than a ton, and drag its prey beneath the water in just a matter of seconds. This is the saltwater crocodile. In northern Australia, some saltwater crocodiles exceed 6 meters in length and weigh well over 1,000 kilograms. They are considered the largest living reptiles on Earth. But what makes them truly terrifying is not their size. It's the fact that they can appear almost anywhere, not just in rivers, not just in swamps, but also in estuaries, coastal waters, and even far out at sea. Every year, Australian authorities issue warnings urging people to stay out of waters where crocodiles may be present. Many of these locations look like paradise: white sand, crystal clear water, perfect tropical scenery. Yet standing nearby are giant warning signs. Danger, crocodiles. And these warnings are far from exaggerated. An adult crocodile can explode from the water with astonishing speed. Within seconds, it can overpower its prey and drag it beneath the surface. In Darwin and throughout northern Australia, residents are accustomed to seeing helicopters and wildlife officers tracking crocodiles that have wandered into populated areas. Some are found near golf courses, marinas, campgrounds, and occasionally right beside residential neighborhoods. But perhaps the strangest thing is this. Despite living alongside creatures like these, Australia consistently ranks among the most livable countries in the world. And that is what surprises many people the most. Our next stop is Melbourne, a city that has spent years appearing on lists of the world's most livable places. The first thing many visitors notice is the cleanliness. Clean sidewalks, clean parks, clean streets, orderly traffic, and remarkably little litter. But that is only the surface. One of Melbourne's most appreciated features is its free tram zone in the city center. No ticket required, no card to tap, no waiting in line. You simply step aboard and ride. It is part of the city's effort to encourage public transportation, reduce congestion, and limit pollution. As a result, exploring the city becomes incredibly easy. Melbourne is also famous for its colorful laneways, walls covered in murals, graffiti, and ever-changing street art. What makes them unique is that they are constantly evolving. New artwork appears every year, meaning no two visits are ever exactly the same. Yet among these vibrant colors lies a place that causes many people to pause. A memorial wall dedicated to women who lost their lives to domestic violence. Every photograph represents a life, a story left unfinished, a reminder that beneath Australia's prosperity and modern image, serious social challenges still exist, challenges that deserve reflection. When most people think of Australia, they immediately think of kangaroos, the national symbol that appears on the coat of arms, coins, airplanes, and countless souvenirs. But there is one fact many people do not realize. Kangaroos are not nearly as gentle as cartoons make them seem. A fully grown male can stand almost 2 meters tall, weigh more than 90 kilograms, and deliver kicks powerful enough to break bones. When fighting, they balance themselves using their incredibly strong tails, then launch both hind legs forward at the same time. The result is a strike powerful enough to send an opponent crashing to the ground, and in some cases, powerful enough to seriously injure a human being, creating a kick powerful enough to deliver astonishing force. But what surprises visitors even more is how frequently kangaroos appear in everyday life. Not in zoos, not in wildlife parks, but right in the middle of residential neighborhoods. Every year, Australia records numerous incidents involving people being attacked by kangaroos, especially those who get too close while trying to take photographs or feed them. In many suburban areas, it is completely normal to see a kangaroo hopping over a fence, wandering across a golf course, standing in the middle of a road, or appearing right outside someone's front door. Australian social media is filled with videos showing entire groups of kangaroos blocking pathways, fighting in backyards, or staring curiously through windows as if investigating what is happening inside. Australia is home to tens of millions of kangaroos. In fact, their population often exceeds the country's human population. That is why locals view them as a familiar part of daily life. But that familiarity sometimes creates problems. Thousands of vehicle collisions involving kangaroos occur across Australia every year, particularly in rural areas and along isolated highways. For tourists, encountering a kangaroo on the roadside can be an unforgettable experience. For local residents, however, it can be a very real headache. Leaving Melbourne behind, we continue our journey to Adelaide, the capital of South Australia. At first glance, the city feels calm and relaxed. Fewer skyscrapers, less traffic, and nowhere near as crowded as Sydney or Melbourne. But spend a little time here, and you quickly discover just how seriously Australians take rules and regulations, especially when it comes to parking. In many parts of the world, finding an empty space is often enough. In Australia, nearly every parking spot comes with its own specific rules. Park beyond the allowed time? Fine. Park facing the wrong direction? Fine. Park in the wrong zone? Fine. In some cases, being only a few minutes late is enough to earn a ticket placed under your windshield wiper. It may sound strict, but it is also one of the reasons everything runs so smoothly. Another interesting detail is that many parking areas are designed with angled spaces rather than parallel parking. This layout significantly increases capacity. Motorcycles have designated areas. Bicycles have designated areas. Electric scooters have designated areas. People are generally not allowed to leave vehicles wherever they please. And that is one reason Australian streets often feel clean, organized, and remarkably comfortable. But things become even more fascinating than that. Because behind this sense of order lies a way of life and a culture that causes many first-time visitors to completely rethink their assumptions about Australia. One of the most interesting things about walking through Australian cities is the number of tiny details you notice. Details so small that many people pass by without giving them a second thought. Yet those details reveal a great deal about how this society functions. Take public drinking fountains, for example. At first glance, they appear ordinary. But look closer, and you will notice that the spout is carefully curved. The water stream is directed with precision, allowing people to drink directly or wash their hands without splashing water onto their clothes. A simple design, but one that has been thoughtfully engineered. Or consider the raised tactile paving that runs along sidewalks. Many visitors assume it is decorative. In reality, it is part of a navigation system designed for people with visual impairments. Using a cane or sensing the texture beneath their feet, they can safely determine direction and navigate the city. These may seem like small things, but they reflect a much larger commitment to accessibility and community well-being. And the longer you observe, the more you realize that Australia has been built upon countless details like these. Walking through the streets of Adelaide, you will also encounter a collection of unusual bronze sculptures. A pig climbing out of a trash bin, a flock of pigeons searching for food, and quirky characters frozen in amusing poses. At first, they appear to be little more than decorative curiosities. But over time, they have become some of the city's most beloved photo spots. These small touches make the city feel friendlier, less rigid, and far more human. But to truly understand everyday life in Australia, we need to visit a place that is much more familiar. The supermarket. Even before entering, a familiar green logo comes into view. Woolworths, one of Australia's largest supermarket chains. Step inside, and the first impression is organization. Everything is arranged with remarkable efficiency. Vegetables, fruit, meat, dairy products, and household goods, all carefully displayed. One detail that often catches the attention of visitors is the bananas. Many of them carry different colored labels, and those labels reveal something surprisingly interesting about how Australians shop, farm, and think about food. Many people assume those colored stickers on bananas are simply branding. But in reality, they help identify different varieties and origins of the fruit, making it easier for consumers to choose exactly what they want. Look a little deeper, and you'll notice that even the egg section is organized with remarkable detail. Free-range eggs, organic eggs, farm standard eggs. Each category comes with its own price range, and that reflects a consumer habit that is quite common in Australia. Many people are willing to spend more money for products they trust. But one of the biggest surprises for visitors has nothing to do with food. It's the closing time. While many Asian cities are just coming to life in the evening, A large number of Australian stores have already closed by 5 or 6 o'clock. Shopping centers become quieter. The streets begin to empty. People head home to spend time with family, friends, sports, or simply to relax after work. It is a different rhythm of life, slower, but often more balanced. If Melbourne represents art and culture, then Sydney is Australia's most modern face. It is the country's largest city, home to the world-famous Sydney Opera House, and the financial capital of Oceania. But Sydney is known for much more than its iconic landmarks. The city continuously experiments with new transportation solutions, including modern urban cable car systems. From a distance, the small cabins floating through the sky look almost like flying taxis from the future. They operate with minimal human intervention, move continuously, use energy efficiently, and help reduce pressure on roads below. When night falls, Sydney transforms completely. Skyscrapers illuminate the skyline. Pedestrian districts glow with light. Fireworks reflect across the waters of the harbor, together creating a cityscape filled with energy and modern ambition. It is hard to believe that only a few hours away by plane, vast empty wilderness still stretches toward the horizon. But don't assume Australia is nothing but beautiful scenery, because our next destination tells a very different story. A city that once became a national concern, a place whose name repeatedly appeared in headlines across the country. Alice Springs. Located deep within the deserts of Australia's Northern Territory, it is often considered the gateway to the Outback, the most famous wilderness region in the country. At first glance, Alice Springs appears peaceful. Wide streets, low-rise buildings, light traffic. Everything seems to move at a slow and comfortable pace. But that is only what visitors see during daylight hours. Behind that calm exterior lies a series of social challenges that have made the city the center of intense national debate. For years, Alice Springs has frequently appeared in discussions surrounding crime, theft, property damage, public disturbances, and youth-related violence. At certain points, authorities were forced to introduce extraordinary control measures. Beginning in 2024 and continuing afterward, nighttime curfews for minors were implemented in some areas, a rare decision in modern Australia. What shocked many observers was that some incidents involved children as young as 12 or 13 years old. Yet the real paradox is this. By day, Alice Springs reveals a completely different side of itself, a side that seems almost impossible to reconcile with the headlines. Red mountain ranges rise in the distance. Large public parks spread across the landscape. Long roads disappear toward the horizon. And in the middle of it all, the town appears like a green oasis surrounded by an endless sea of desert. Stand at one of the lookout points overlooking the region, and it becomes easy to understand why so many travelers fall in love with this place. Alice Springs feels like two worlds existing simultaneously. Peaceful, quiet, and breathtakingly beautiful during the day. Yet after dark, a different reality begins to emerge. And that may be one of Australia's greatest contradictions. A country celebrated for its quality of life, yet still home to challenges that invite deeper reflection. However, Australia does not surprise visitors only through its social stories. Sometimes it surprises them through its food. And some dishes require a little courage before the first bite. One of the most famous examples is the witchetty grub, the iconic edible larvae traditionally eaten by indigenous Australians. Cream-colored, plump, nearly the length of a finger, these larvae live within the roots and trunks of trees throughout parts of the Outback. For indigenous communities, they are not unusual at all. They have been an important food source for thousands of years. Rich in protein, rich in healthy fats, and packed with energy for survival in harsh desert conditions. But what surprises many visitors is the traditional method of eating them. Raw, the larvae are taken directly from the wood and consumed immediately. Those who have tried them often describe the flavor as a combination of almonds, eggs, and the mild richness of chicken. It sounds surprisingly appealing. Yet not everyone is eager enough to test that description for themselves. And that is far from Australia's only unusual food. Another dish that often catches tourists off guard is charcoal-coated fish and chips. From a distance, many people assume the meal has been completely burned, as if something had gone terribly wrong in the kitchen. But the truth is something entirely different. But in reality, that unusual color comes from food-grade activated charcoal, completely safe to consume, and responsible for the dish's striking appearance. One fascinating thing about Australia is that it does not have a single, unified culinary tradition in the way many older nations do. Instead, it is a meeting point for cultures from all over the world. Within just a few city blocks, you can find Vietnamese banh mi, hand-pulled Chinese noodles, Italian pizza, Indian curry, Middle Eastern specialties, and Greek cuisine, all existing side by side, creating one of the most diverse food cultures on Earth. But if you truly want to understand the soul of Australia, you have to leave the cities behind and venture into the most mysterious part of the continent, the Outback, the name Australians use for the vast and remote interior regions of the country, a place where distances are measured not in kilometers, but in hundreds or even thousands of kilometers. A place where entire areas can be as large as a European country, yet home to only a few thousand people. During summer, temperatures can exceed 45 degrees Celsius. Red earth stretches endlessly toward the horizon. Vegetation is sparse. Water is precious. Survival has never been easy here. There are roads that continue for hundreds of kilometers. No gas stations, no stores, no phone signal. If something goes wrong in the middle of this landscape, it could be a very long time before another person comes along. Yet it is precisely this harshness that gives the Outback its unique appeal. It is home to countless remarkable animals, ancient indigenous communities, and some of Australia's most breathtaking natural landscapes. Only when standing in the middle of this vast wilderness do you truly understand how immense Australia really is. And if there is one way to experience that vastness at its most spectacular, it may be aboard the Indian Pacific, one of the world's most famous train journeys, connecting Perth on the west coast with Sydney on the east, covering more than 4,300 kilometers, and taking approximately 5 days and 4 nights to complete. Throughout the journey, the train crosses deserts, grasslands, remote settlements, and enormous stretches of land where almost nobody lives. The train itself can stretch close to a kilometer in length, like a luxury hotel moving across an entire continent. Inside are private cabins, restaurants, lounges, cafes, and a range of premium services. Yet for most passengers, the most memorable part of the experience is not inside the train. It is what lies beyond the window. In the morning, you wake up surrounded by an endless sea of red earth. In the afternoon, vast plains glide silently past. And at night, a sky filled with stars appears with astonishing clarity. No city lights, no traffic noise, only the profound silence of nature. Some sections of track run perfectly straight for hundreds of kilometers, creating the illusion that the train is racing directly toward the horizon itself. It is an experience few places on Earth can offer. And it is often during moments like these that people begin to understand why Australia inspires both fascination and admiration. Because Australia is not simply a country, it feels like multiple worlds existing on a single continent. Some of the most modern cities on the planet, free-spirited beaches bathed in sunshine, deserts so vast they seem impossible, extraordinary wildlife, foods that challenge visitors to step outside their comfort zones, kangaroos appearing outside front doors, and train journeys capable of carrying you across an entire continent. Australia is not a perfect paradise, but perhaps it is these contradictions that make it one of the most unique countries in the world. A place where the more you learn, the more you realize how much remains undiscovered. And perhaps everything we have explored today is only the tip of the iceberg. So what impressed you most about Australia? Its spectacular beaches? Its iconic kangaroos? The untamed wilderness of the Outback? Or the unforgettable journey across the continent aboard the Indian Pacific? Let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for joining us all the way to the end of today's adventure. Until next time, stay curious, and we'll see you on the next journey of discovery.